Yeah, baby. Yeah. The Mac is back. Back with another video. Hello, the initiated. My name is Marcus Unica, and today we're checking out Tom's X3M by Strezov sampling. Yes, indeed, that is how you pronounce the name of this lineup, as we learned last time we checked out an X3M library. Super excited for this one because, as I've said many times before, Strezov is one of my favorite sample library developers, certainly in the orchestral front of things. What I really like about their sound is that it's super organic, realistic, emotional, soulful, and it breathes in a different way. You know, there's something special about when you're recording instruments. If you can capture a sense of air, a sense of presence of that air, you really get to a different level of motion and the music sort of breathing. And obviously that adds to realism and all kinds of other things. And I think this is specifically what Strezov do so really well. And in fact, this is something I think we do need more in not only the other orchestral departments, but certainly in the percussion department, because oftentimes a lot of the drums are quite squashed to oblivion and very controlled. So really interested in seeing whether this brings those same sort of classic Strezov characteristics to the sound. But in terms of what this is, let's go to the website. Might as well touch on the pricing immediately, as it's right there as you get onto this page. So it seems like full price, this in euros for me shows 129 euros, and that's excluding VAT. So that comes on top of that, and seems like this is a intro pricing of 99 euros, and that's also excluding VAT. So that comes on top. I don't know if there are additional layers to this. If you have some X3M library, I do, but I can't recall seeing an email on that. So check your email for sure, in case there's something there, like an additional thing, but I don't know if there is. This is described as contemporary hard-hitting toms, surdos, field drums in solo and various ensemble sizes, processed for an out-of-the-box epic experience. So right off the bat, interesting that it does have other stuff than toms when it's named toms. Obviously this is a good thing, assuming that they sound good, but yeah, it does make I'd say probably the marketing of this a bit more confusing, although I'm sure people don't mind discovering that it has a bunch of other stuff as well. Really interested, again, very interested in hearing how this is going to sound like, because I do hope this has like a very nicely captured breathing drums. And reading this description, I mean, in short, what I'm trying to say is, what I love about the Strezov mixes is that they do have this like natural breathing, nicely recorded sound, but they are so malleable to processing, because sometimes you get a library and it sounds fantastic, and what it does fantastically, but you can't really undo certain aspects of the productional choices and the mixing that is actually done on the audio file itself. But with Strezov, you could really go either way. You can pull back and make things super raw and natural and authentic, or you can do your own bit of compression EQ and get that super polished, hard-hitting sound. So to me, in many cases, they do the best of both worlds when it comes to that kind of stuff. So yeah, this is downloadable via native access, powered by Contact Player, so you don't need full contact. version 6.7.1 or higher. And they talk a bit about toms, first and most used instruments for epic sounding percussion, contemporary approach. They say adding more depth and color to the recording process compared to other installments of the X3M percussion range. Okay, so interesting. So this might be a departure of what they've done with that so far. We shall see. We went beyond traditional toms and also recorded surdos, field drums, solo drums, brushed drums solo, and in different ensemble sizes and combinations. So this is another thing that Strezov do very extensively. They don't do like just a bunch of different instruments in a particular style, but rather a very detailed, in-depth with multiple, articulations and styles. You get a very like comprehensive toolkit with I think pretty much every single library that I've tried from them, which really gives you can tell that these are made by composers, because these are like very extensive toolkits. So you won't be limited by what it can do. You're really limited by your creativity and what you want to do as a composer. So the articulations are probably going to be there for you to pursue the kind of expression and sound that you want to have. They say one of our main goals was to have consistent round robins captured for as many playing techniques as possible. So that kind of emphasizes what I just said, to allow writing fast, but at the same time smooth and realistic sounding percussion arrangements. Nice. To achieve that, we carefully edited every single sample of our up to 15 round robins manually, did as many iterations as needed after extensively testing the articulations in real life composing environment. Cool. Recordings took place in the Sofia session studio, where we also recorded the previous X3M libraries to allow smooth and easy layering. Cool. So, I mean, so far, I personally have never been to that space or don't know much about that space, but based on the previous libraries, it has been working super, super well. Then they talk a bit about the X3M percussion engine. The concept behind this engine is fairly simple. The keyboard range is divided into 12 zones that you are able to assign different sounds to. Cool. After creating a template of your choosing, just plug in and play, nothing else needed. In addition to that, the engine also allows you to tweak individual zones, as well as whole mapped ensemble patch, which various effects and mic positions. Yeah, the mic positions are also an additional. There's just like so much depth to these libraries. Combining these with the natural and organic recordings, you have maximum flexibility when it comes to sound. Once you load up the X3M Ensemble Builder, you automatically load all samples inside the samples directory. However, the instrument is built in such a way that it actually keeps all samples purged unless you load them up into a zone. This means that not only do you have a single patch with all types of percussion you might need, but it is also optimized and doesn't hurt your RAM. Nice. The recently updated X3M engine also features round robin selection as well as stereo spread control for each mic position. Cool. Oh, okay, they do mention regarding pricing. Additional cross-grade discounts for owners of X3M libraries available. Please check your emails. Do it. All right, cool. Just wanted to read this for myself so I know a bit more what it's about. As you know, I like to go in blind, so you get my authentic, full response. So I haven't played this at all yet. Tech requirements, as said, works in the Contact Player 6.7.1 or above. And this is 16 gigs free space for the library and 16 gigs for the archive files. And minimum of 2 gigs of RAM. Cool. All right, I think that's enough for the website. When I look at this interface, this looks a bit different to the last X3M installation we checked out. This looks more vibrant to me. Like this is more saturation and contrast, sort of visually speaking. The text does appear to me a bit sort of jagged edged, not like anything horrible, but it seems sort of more jagged looking than I would sort of expect. So maybe there's some kind of resolution thing that they could. I don't know much about this kind of visual graphics optimization stuff, but seems like that could be optimized a bit better. But regardless, looking very certainly fresh. It's very the contrast and saturation are juiced up quite nicely, but nice looking. This seems a bit more condensed looking to me, like everything is a bit closer to one another than before. Maybe looks a bit more compact and crowded because of that, but still very easy to follow. We can see that we have these main zones here on the left, or sort of main banks where you can choose stuff from. Yep. Okay, interesting. Well, first of all, if you obviously open the contact folders here, we can look at the folder structure. We got, seems like we have 4 main folders. We have best of. In best of, you got ensembles, then you got solos high and solos low. Cool. And all of that is best of. So I presume this is the kind of the curated selection. Then you have ensembles. Ensemble times 4 part 1, ensemble times 4 part 2, and ensemble times 8. In the solos folder, you have solo brushes, field drums, high toms, low toms, mallets, orchestral, and surdos. And then you have a sound design folder, which is very interesting, not something you often see in a percussion library. So you have booms, Brazilian ground cassi, I don't know how to pronounce that. Do you need shakers, field drums from hell? I like that one. It's just like very upfront. Giant thunder brushes. I read thunder bones at first, but high ostinato mega drum kit. I love how juiced up these names are. Snappy punchy, trash kit toms, ultra high timpani. Okay, so these are the folders, and then you have this this system here. Yeah, definitely looking at this interface, this is a bit more cramped than I would make it, because again, up here we got close mic, Decca, and Hall, and this is sort of so close to these map things here that it kind of seems like they're all part of the same area. So maybe a bit more space would be easier to follow. Again, it's not difficult to track, but you know, if I'm looking for criticism or you know, sharing my opinions on that, that's what I would do, or you know, touch on. On the right, you got EQ, high, middle, low, simple enough. Amp effects, so transient attack, transient sustain, saturation, wave shaping, so pitch, offset, release. Okay, fair enough. Select, round robin. Okay, yeah, so you can go precise with this. You don't have to kind of be at the mercy of randomness as well, which is really good. And then these are presumably the mic balances. Okay, so wait. So you can control the global volume of the Hall microphones. Oh, sorry, of close Decca and Hall up here. But these are adjust all microphones of the edited zone at once. Okay. Oh, okay, that's mic. So that's not. Wait, I want to try and actually make sense of this. Is this the same? set the global volume of the closed microphones, versus on the right, it's adjust the closed microphone volume of the edited zone. Oh, okay, fair enough. And then you got the waveform, well, the alignment of the microphones. This is a really cool feature. Cool. All right, I think we're gonna start off with best of. So in terms of what we're gonna try and do today is just play as much of these sounds as possible. Again, we're gonna be very focused on the presets or how stuff comes out of this folder, but as you can see from these banks here, you can change things wherever you want. So this is not going to be like a more technical overview of how this works, but rather just demonstrate what it sounds like. In terms of what you'll be hearing today, it's only Tom's X3M in action. I don't add any effects. I don't have any EQ, no reverb, no compression, nothing. It's only as this comes out right out of the box. I have a limiter on my master bus to make the level decent for this video and consistent, so it's nicer to listen to and to watch. That being said, the limiter is set to be as transparent as possible. This being a percussion library, it's going to have some... Getting a phone call. Right, so what I think I was saying is that this is a percussion library, so we are going to get some of those louder transient peaks. So some of those will be caught, but as I said, the limiting here is set to be as transparent as possible. So certainly if I hear any unnatural squashing of transients, I'll let you know of that, and I will be adjusting the limiter as we go through this video to keep the sound as authentic as possible and as close to the original as possible. And also, if you hear any distortion, that's probably the limiter, and I'll probably let you know either way, certainly if it is not. Also, in terms of transparency, Strezov Sampling did send me this copy, so first of all, thank you to them for doing so. That being said, all opinions are my own, both in good and bad. I haven't been asked to say anything one way or the other, nor would I ever do that. I think that covers our bases here. So let's go into the best of folder and just load up best of ensembles and start playing. We will have to get a good, decent level going first, but so right off the bat, what I really like, and I think this is from the previous installments of the X3M series, is when I play this pink zone, purple, I don't know which one that is, I can see the zone 1 light up here. So I can tell, all right, I'm using the Assault 8 times low. So that's really cool, really easy to track what you want to put where, because if I wanted to change this sound, I could easily just know, okay, yeah, in zone 1 on these keys I am changing the sound to this and that. So, but I digress. Let me try and play a bit more. So yeah, good dynamics. I mean, I don't really like percussion libraries that don't go super quiet and go to those low dynamics. And this is really, really, really quiet. I feel like the curve lighting up to those louder sounds at times feels like a bit too trigger happy, but for the most part, that's really good. And again, here, we're still, you know, it's impactful, big, but it sounds, you know, natural. So more sort of resonant and muted. I love how this, again, this is apparently called subdue. So it's like a low mallet note. Okay. Yeah, I love this big resonance here in the low end. It's super powerful. Creates like an anticipatory type of a sound. I dare push the limiter just a bit. Here I again noticed that some of the notes, they light up to those higher velocities a bit, or higher dynamics, a bit too happy. So I would probably adjust a bit of how those light up. I feel like the maybe the upper mid area of that velocity range lights up a bit too fast. This is a really interesting one, because it's kind of like a, you know, snare meeting a tom. I mean, they say it's a field drum, so really cool. It does have, especially on the left side, a bit of that, like that clicky transient thing. And that's obviously probably what was there to be captured. But I see that that can get really annoying to the ear. So if I would add this to a track, I'd probably have to clip that out with something like OX Sound Spiff, because it does get, it's right at that frequency, which kind of a wet click there. So I would probably cut that out. I'm just realizing, am I ballsing this up? Because I was clicking these different things and it changes the zone. Well, it doesn't apparently change the sound here. So I'm sure I'll understand that better as I play a bit more of this. Ooh, tom hammer. I like the sound of this. Let's play this. Love that kind of stuff. Again, this is, I'm very happy to hear that this is, they're very like, these are beautifully captured, beautiful instruments, beautifully played and sampled, and they are very much still breathing, but they have that like cinematic size and impact. This is a beautiful one. Obviously we get this brush only at the lower velocities. And as you light it up a bit more, you start to get that resonance. And then as you go really loud, you get these big hits. This is a really good one. I'm going to use the shit out of this. Like a beautiful natural resonance there. I really love that kind of stuff. I love that they kept it in there and they see it as like a musical part of the sound. I'm also pretty light on the kind of the roll kind of stuff, or if I do flams or some kind of hits, I like to play it myself usually. But you know, I'll try and play those as well. I'm pretty, you know, much focusing on the individual playability of and the expression of the kind of main sounds, but I'll try and include those in as well. Let's actually see what sample, what the sample size for me is. Okay, so I'm gonna have it. I'm at 256 now. Still very playable. It's to be like already maybe a bit slow for me when it comes to playing. So I like to be at half of that, 126, which is what we're doing now. But I mean, will say that it remained remarkably playable even at that sample size. So really good stuff. Really liking this one. Apparently it's Vikings low damped called. I love that it's very sort of blocky, or it's kind of like almost like wood meeting like a very, not a very resonant chamber or box. Very cool. Ooh, these are so good. It's the balance of the. It has like a big cinematic body and sound, and still like just the soul of it. It remains very musical, but it's still organic and breathing. That low end is beautiful. Actually, I want to look at from my scope. Yeah, we got a good bit of resonance. Yeah, this is beautifully done. It's a beautiful kind of sub resonance right at like 50 hertz, then it slopes down, and then you also have this peak around 125. This it has a nice amount of body, but it's so well balanced for this. For a field drum, because you want it to have that kind of mid focus, but it has the weight and the brunt from that low end. So this is beautifully done. Really good, really good. Not like super. No, that is still very dynamic. Yeah, that's going to sound stunning in the right place. Oh shit, my mic was on. Again, a bit same thing as with the brushes earlier. This is like you can play super quiet and only get the very light transient response as you're hitting the head of it. Then you begin to have some resonance there, and then you can go really hard as well. This is really good. And again, you can hear that it's going to respond so well to processing. If I want to EQ this, if I want to compress, no issue. I can hear that it's going to take it so nicely. They're not overdone. It's so brilliantly tracked and balanced. I love this stuff. That resonance there is beautiful. And also the imaging. It's clearly like over there to the left. It's such a full but beautifully controlled resonance. Tauren. I don't think I've ever seen that word. This is a beautiful sound as well. It reminds me of kind of like a kind of a tom, rototom-ish, kind of a tom gone rogue. It's a very nice raw, slightly wet type of a sound. Very cool. The one thing that I would change and tweak, and we'll see if we can actually do that, at least easily, is that the velocity curve tends to tilt a bit more towards like getting trigger happy about the higher dynamics. And it's like we have this beautiful quiet dynamics here, but I have to be super careful to not wander beyond those. I have a dope for PK88, so this is a really good keyboard and also has a ton of resolution. Like I can very carefully control what I want to hit very intentionally. So, you know, if I had anything with less resolution, it would probably be harder for me to dig into those quieter dynamics. So I wonder if that's very easily adjustable. At least based on this, I can't see if I can get to those dynamics very easily. So I can't seem to be able to locate a quick and fast way of adjusting the velocity curve. And I do apologize if I'm completely blind. So EQ, no, that's transient, saturation, wave shape, pitch, offset, release. Pan, mic positions, round robins. I can't seem to locate any like a global fast velocity curve controlling thing. So obviously you can go under the hood and adjust that, or you can adjust it on your keyboard. If and probably when you can adjust the velocity behavior on your keyboard. Obviously that's like an additional layer here. Maybe that's yeah, let's not go there. Yeah, well, if that isn't a feature, would be cool. Would be cool to have it. And if it is, I'm sorry that I can't locate it. But if I can't locate it, well, maybe it's due to being the way I am, or improvement of the interface. I don't think it's here. I like this is very crisp, but again, not at all harsh. Very often you can play like a snare or a field drum and you go like, ooh, that sounds good, but then it begins to be tiring over time. This is a very nice, like crispy, open balance. Cool. So let me, I do remember that I actually learned how this zone stuff works. Maybe. So on the left. Okay, so yes, this left bracket selects the zone that you're dealing with and it just shows what's in there now. Then in here, in the middle box, you select the category from which you want to choose. And when you do change whatever you change, it changes into that zone. So cool, fair enough. What I don't understand is why the colors change here when I click on this. Oh, I think it's just telling me that you've selected this zone. Yes. All right, cool. Makes sense. So the purple is telling me this is what you're tweaking now. Cool. Makes sense. All right, I think that was best of ensembles. Best of solos high is up next. I think for something that's called toms, this is super extensive. So far, all the field drums and anything sort of more snare-like It sounded really, really good. So this seems to be covering a lot of ground. Yeah, this is really nice. So we have like a snappier, more springy snare. Then we have more body, more sort of, you know, low end puffiness. Yeah, the main thing is that I would probably adjust that velocity dispersion, you know, have sort of, because I feel like I need to go very loud for those loud ones, then like super quiet for these quiet ones. And it has such beautiful dynamic range that I feel like that how it shares itself, what's the word that I'm looking for? Disperses, how it is distributed into that velocity range could work a bit of balance. But like this is, the dynamics here are so good. I just want to feel a bit more interfaced with them. Now this is really cool. So it says DW, which is a drum brand, drum kit brand, 12-inch. This is a really good one because unfortunately for some reason, a lot of the time when drum kit elements are included in what is primarily a orchestral percussion or drum library, they sort of come across as kind of last minute ideas, and they don't usually sound very good. But this sounds really beautiful, and it's let's play this. I'm gonna pull back a bit on the limiter here to not affect the sound as much. Because they've managed to make this very orchestral context applicable. It will suit those purposes really nicely. So I really like that. Let's try the Pearl one. I dare push the limiter a bit more. Really liking this sound, sort of more ripping, resonant sound. That's going to make so much sense in orchestral context. That you can make beautiful, like ripping tone parts. Really liking this sound. And again, tremendous range of dynamics. Yeah, I love how the tom really begins to sing and kind of rip when you hit it really hard. You get this beautiful, natural saturation element. I don't think I've ever heard something like this being sampled this well in a more in this sort of a more orchestral percussive context. You can hear that it's sort of, obviously we only have a certain mic mix here, and you know, drum kits specifically tend to be more emphasized on close and room mics, but in this sort of a like a more bigger orchestral sound sense, this is probably the best I've heard. Beautiful imaging on this one. This is tracked really, really, really nicely. Pearl 10-inch brushes. It's a really good texture. I'm really impressed by how those resonances and the body of the drum begins to kind of bake itself in as you begin to push those dynamics. That's really exceptionally well done. Again, beautiful resonance and that natural saturation that happens when you drive, then hit that drum harder. Tiny fluctuations in the pitch, beautiful. Beautiful. I feel like I'm actually playing that. It resonates so beautifully. That's super well done. And I mean, again, I'm not doing a good job of showing all the multitude of the miking here, but I mean, if let's solo the close mic. Which doesn't seem to be... Okay, that's the hall. It's a Decca. Interesting, that's kind of like muffled, distant. Okay, so even the hall here seems to be the mix seems to be very close heavy here. Yeah, I really like the close. All right, cool. Let's move on so we can play more of these sounds. Solo's low. back the limiter a bit there to give you a better picture. Beautiful, the resonance in the low end, very, very grounding, very meaty. So this is extremely kind of subdued LP metal. Again, this is kind of doesn't have as much dynamic expression, but the resonance here is really good. Yeah, again, same thing. Beautiful kind of more orchestral application of many of these, like these toms. Really well done. Moving into ensembles. So let's just see what these are about. I can't tell if this is like, so I'm guessing ensemble times 4 just comes in 2 parts, so it's actually like different content. But is times 8, is that like just doubles the sounds, or is it actually different? Seems like it's different, just using different content. So this is ensemble times 4 part 1. Really loving that. Good mix of kind of a wet transient presence, having that low grounding rumbling, but mid hits. Like you could have this and just have it take care of the brunt of the big percussive work that you want to have. That's going to be one of the best drum sounds I've ever heard. Certainly for an orchestral context. Really good. You got such a good, beautiful mid resonance. Then we have that transient wet layer on top, which obviously depends on the velocity. And then you have this low rumbling. Again, I want to look at the scopes here, but from 50 to 100, you get those 2 different zones there. Yeah, that resonance is around 80. So it's so meaty and beautifully still open. That's a really, really, really good sound. I'm gonna move on, otherwise I'm just gonna play that for the rest of the day. Again, here, I feel like I need to go a bit too quiet with the velocity. Play super carefully to get those quiet ones. And then those kind of mid mid-high velocity sort of trigger a bit happily. So I would not that loud. It's really, I'll try and simulate that. Like that boom came a bit too happily through there compared to the level of my playing. So you do have to be very specific about where those crossover points are. Obviously, this is largely subjective because we all like to play differently. I just like a different, like a control profile for my sounds, but yeah, again, that's super nice. I'm not sure how much overlap we're gonna have from best of and all of these, but we're just gonna try and play these through. Beautiful, beautiful. So like, ugh, so much meat, so much bottom. That's what he said. These are really good. Like there again, some of those mid, not the super high velocities, but the higher mid ones, bit trigger happy to trigger. But you do get the hang of it. You do get the idea of the curve. It's pretty easy to follow once you wrap your head around it. So this is part 2 of Ensemble ×4. I really like that towering. I suppose it's a percussive instrument of its own. Really nice sound. That's another really good one. Again, fantastic. This is a really good set of sounds. Yeah, I mean, these were all super solid. So ensemble times 8. These look sort of similar to the best of, at least some of the names, but we'll play them through. Yeah, that's a really good one. Just the dispersion of the transients are perfectly impactful, but wide also. Like, that's a horrible imitation of that sound, but this is a really good one. I think Kongzilla is a new one to me. I recognize the other ones. That's a really good one for like a big heavyweight scene. You have a lot of that spring rattling, a lot of resonance, but it's beautifully balanced. That's a super good one. I'm going to pull down the limiter. I don't want to squash the transients quite as much. I think this is a new one to me. Crusade, 8 times mid, brushes and sticks. This sounds colossal. That's another really good one. I think this one was in the best of folder. Just a dispersion of the transients there. Beautiful, like a wet, crispy. Imaging is really good. Kind of goes all the way the spec of the field. Love this one also. It's kind of like a bit muted, kind of subdued. We have this beautiful top end rising from the side of for the transients. This is really good for like an anticipatory type of a sound. Because that transient response gives you a really clear sense of the rhythm. Solos, brushes. So these might have, to my taste, a bit too much of that top end reverb hush. This is like a purely like a personal type of a thing. I know like a lot of composers use that kind of top end on reverbs. I will say though, this is as well as that can be done. It is really, really well done. It doesn't get like tiring or annoying to the ear. I would just do less of it. Obviously you can also adjust the miking here. So this would be the close mic only. But again, I like my reverb tails with less top end. But yeah, I'm sure many will absolutely love that. Let's do solo field drum. Yeah, really good. This is again, super crispy but pleasant. High toms, solo. That's super sharp and snappy to play. And again, the beautiful resonances. I'd probably have to tame that down a bit. Depends on the track, but super beautiful. Again, the sense of space on that one is brilliant. Cool, very nice. Low toms. So I think a bunch of these are ones that we've touched on, but might as well do it. Solo orchestral. So I'm not familiar with this brand, I don't think. So maybe this is like an orchestral drum brand. But yeah, this is a really good set because you get all the different inches at the same time. Yeah, but a really good layout. Let's leave it at that. Okay, so that was all the solos. Going into sound design. Really don't know what to expect here, but drums. Drums in the deep, Frodo. Yeah, so these are definitely treated and tuned differently. Gives you a different starting point and a faster starting point, obviously. So good kind of a toolkit to have as well. Okay. These can get a bit bright. Definitely that middle one especially. And maybe that one. This is the most balanced out of these. Probably have to treat some of that top end. But again, like many times, especially in an orchestral mix, when you're putting shakers in there, they need to be usually very subtle. So it's also a matter of level. And in that case, you probably want them to, you know, spike out enough so that they're actually detectable. This is Field Drums from Hell. So that sounds a bit too processed to my taste. Much prefer the more natural ones. But again, you know, it's a different kind of a starting point for you. Might work well for your track. For example, this is a brilliant one. Yeah, that low end booms pretty much perfectly. High ostinato. That's a really good sound because it doesn't take much space, but it's perfectly getting across what you want it to. There's that snappy slap, and then you got a bit of that spring and that resonance. It's a really good sound. Yeah, that's a really good combination of things. Mega drum kit. Gonna pull back a bit on this limiter. Cool, snappy, punchy. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that these are in here because they're going to be super convenient for a lot of people to access. I would probably personally just start with the individual instruments. I don't exactly know, like sound design, what they mean by that. I guess it means like pre-mixed styles and sounds. I would guess. Because like for me, when they sound good, they're much closer to the individual patches. So I would personally probably not get much use out of these, and there aren't too many of these. I mean, we got what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of these, and they aren't super like specifically expressive to me. And again, what I love about them is the stuff that I've already heard before in there. So for me, it doesn't personally offer much versatility. Cool. I think that covers everything. We went through the folders. As far as I can tell, that's it. Obviously, again, we could touch more on how this whole thing works, but it's simple enough. You choose the zone you want to put stuff in, and it appears here in the change of the purple color. And you put whatever you want in there, and you got these different folders that include different stuff. And I think we played absolutely all of them. All right, so okay, to summarize this, definitely one of the best percussive orchestral libraries that I've played. And this is actually super interesting because because a lot of people might be looking for that one orchestral percussion library to use. And it's often very difficult to give recommendations for that because it does depend on the sound you want to go for. And so many libraries do certain things fantastically, but it can be difficult for them to kind of, bend and change to suit certain types of different styles. So obviously, like mentioning Heavy OST's Damage lineup or Master Sessions also in many regards do certain things absolutely fantastically. One of the things that comes to mind comparatively to this is also Tom Factory, but again, that is very different in terms of in terms of the essence of what it sounds like. All of these are fantastic libraries, but again, here I think the strength that this has is the fantastic dynamic range there. And it's not just the fact that obviously you have dynamic range, but it's also that it actually produces different types of sounds, different type of textures, like very subtle touches on the drum. So I think this comes out on top when it comes to dynamic expression and dynamic texture. And it does, like if I was to go for one library that was more emphasized on the organic, natural sounding, very breathing recording, recordings with a lot of sense of space and air moving, I would err on the side of going for this. And what's really interesting about the offering here, and I like that they've done this, is that obviously it's named Toms, but it obviously has a bunch of other stuff. Like those field drums are gonna take care of many of your kind of snare-like needs. And yeah, you can do just a lot of stuff with this. Obviously, you don't have cymbals in here, so you probably have to get those. You do have to get those somewhere else. But yeah, anything comes down to the low end over like an orchestral sound, anything in the mid, the snares. I mean, this covers so much ground, and I love that you can take this again in any direction you want. I could take these and I could EQ them. I could, obviously we didn't even touch much on the mic, the mic positions and the mixes, but if you want to go drier, you can just shut down the Deca mics and the hall mics. You can go close, then you could add your own reverb there to make it, again, put it in a different direction. But these are so well performed and recorded. They're fantastic instruments, and they're in a brilliant space, so you can really make these go into any kind of a direction, even if you wanted to go for a more sort of polished, but a sort of a more intensive, harder hybrid sound. You can absolutely do it, and you're not going to bump into any issues in terms of sounds being over compressed or anything. These sit in a really, really nice place where you can apply your own processing, your own treatment, and just take it into whichever direction you want. Or if you want to do like organic, raw, natural, realistic sounding, very breathing, super high dynamic range scope kind of percussive stuff, you can also do it with this one. And you get so many different, it doesn't do like one single style. You have so many different types of lows and mids that it's really impressive what it can do in terms of the scope of it, even if it is not like a massive library. And I actually do think there are certain perks to that, because even after just one session of playing this on here as we're doing it, I'm building a very good understanding of what's in here. So because a lot of the times many libraries are fantastic and they are vast in their scope, but it can be very difficult to wrap your head around it. Obviously, then you just spend more time with it to master it, etc. But I do think there is maybe a kind of an optimal library size, at least for me, where you can easily wrap your head around what it does and what it sounds like and what it has inside of it, and also so that you can navigate it very quickly. I think this is super optimized for that as well, because you could very easily and quickly audition many of these lows against one another, and the mids or anything else you want, and get to your sound. And again, they sound so tweakable. Like, it's actually a pleasure to mix stuff like this, because it already sounds fantastic. But again, if you want to pivot, go for a certain type of style, that's very easy. You just choose, first of all, the mic balance that you want to have. I mean, you could use some of the EQs also on here, but I mean, personally, I do it with like a third-party thing. But yeah, do the mic position that you want, and then go into your processing. So this is really, really good for something like that, and like for an approach like that. And it sounds absolutely stunning. It's a really good balance of like weight and impact and realism, and still having this kind of organic, cinematic sense to it. It's absolutely brilliantly done. Well, I don't want to repeat myself too much. I'm also like trying to piece together the best way to articulate what this is, but fantastic work. I'm really looking forward to implementing this even more. But I don't think it's, even with this short amount of estimation that a short amount of time that I have to estimate this, I would say this is definitely in the top 3 orchestral percussive libraries that I have, because it can bend to so many different styles and sounds. So this will cover a lot of ground. So if you're looking for something like that, check it out. All right. I think that's it for today. If you already have this at your studio or at home, let me know what you think, and certainly let me know what you think of this video. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Finished.